Hello guys and welcome to the briefing room. I'll make the introduction short and to the point. I'm your friendly Captain Totoro and I invite you to join me in the cockpit on today's flight from Hamburg in northern Germany over to Innsbruck, smack in the middle of the Austrian Alps. We have a lovely spring evening with good weather forecast and I expect full ATC coverage. I'm conducting the flight in real time, so clock date and time in the sim is real. So without further ado, let's look at our dispatch release, the charts, and weather. The machine we'll be flying today is the Hotel Kilo, a fictional classic Boeing 757-200 with Rolls-Royce engines and no winglets. The airplane is currently parked at gate 37 at Hamburg, actually a bit away from the regular passenger terminals. There are no autogates in this airport model, so let's pretend the jetways were out of service and we'll be boarding passengers using the classic stairway and bus method. So let's take a look at our dispatch release. We'll be flying under the call sign Lufthansa 372, and even though the dispatch release lists 1900 Zulu as the departure time, the departure has since been amended to 1915 Zulu, and I expect an on-time arrival with that time. I just don't have the dispatch release here handy. We'll be flying at flight level 350 with a cost index of 10. The total planned route is about 420 miles, and with good overall plus 30 knots on the wind component, we expect an en route airtime of just over 1 hour and a burn of 8,500 pounds of fuel, hence also the low cost index. The ATIS at Hamburg at the time of dispatch states that runway 33 departures are in use, and I expect a runway 26 approach in Innsbruck. Since we'll be coming in after dusk, the circling runway 08 approach is a tad too dangerous. This is given by the fact that the approach requires us to approach the terrain very closely and without clear visual contact on the ground. That's just not within my personal comfort zone. The alternate, should we need it, will be a return back to Munich, about 70 miles north of Innsbruck. Should we need to divert, Munich is pretty much due north of Innsbruck, behind some fairly tall mountains, so the diversion will definitely need to happen at the 1,000 feet or higher. Let's talk about the departure and arrival. Given by departure on runway 33 towards AMLA as our initial point, we'll be following the AMLA 7 Golf SID. We'll be briefing the departure in the cockpit and as we're waiting for boarding. On the arrival, our route lists a direct between Tulsi and Innsbruck, but that's only a placeholder, and I expect that we'll be getting radar vectors to a Loc DME east approach. So after Tulsi, we'll be turning left to the Rattenberg NB and from there transition to the approach. Looking at the fuel planning, we'll be taking on 16,800 pounds of fuel and plan to arrive with about 8,000 in the tanks at Innsbruck. It's actually going to be a little less due to the approach maneuvering that this fuel plan does not take into account. As soon as you'll see in a moment, the weather forecast is excellent and the diversion is very unlikely, so I'm only taking the minimum extra that we have to. So our alternate to Munich, which is 3.3, and our final reserve of 4.7. Total lock time will be about 1 hour and 22 minutes and a planned arrival of 2055 Zulu due to the displaced departure of 1915 Zulu relative to the one listed in this dispatch release here. For our weights, we'll be carrying about 170 passengers plus some cargo for a total zero fuel weight of 171.6. With 16.8 of fuel, we'll have a takeoff weight of about 188.1. And a maximum for a fuel load of 206.5. The takeoff weight is well below our max takeoff weight for the 757-200, which is around 250, and given the very long departure runway at Hamburg, we'll be taking a good performance D-rate of plus 50 degrees, which should give us an EPR of an EPR of 1.60. The landing weight is going to be around 180, so it's going to be a flaps 30 approach and landing. We'll skip over the NOTAMs since they don't really apply to our simulated environment. Feel free to read through those at the link to the full dispatch release below. The weather in Hamburg is good. We got some light wind from the north, Cav OK, and 13 degrees with no significant changes expected. Innsbruck is looking similarly good. Winds almost calm, good visibility, and a few clouds at 6,000, scattered at 8, and 10 degrees again with no significant changes expected. Our alternate, again, light northerly winds, 10 kilometers visibility, and some scattered cloud of 4.6 with 11 degrees and no significant changes expected. Overall, really good weather for flying, so it should be a smooth flight. The route is pretty much due south, but we have an overall slight easterly direction, hence the odd flight level. I do expect we'll be getting some direct along the way, so that should help straighten this thing out a bit. The en route weather is expected to be fairly calm. We do have some significant weather moving in over Hamburg from the west, with some embedded CBs, light turbulence, and moderate icing. I do not expect these to be a factor, however, since by the time they arrive over Hamburg, we'll have long since landed at Innsbruck. The en route winds are generally favorable to us. There are some remnants of the polar jet stream just west of the airfield, so there might be a few bumps on the climb out away from Hamburg. But once in the cruise, I expect very little, if any, turbulence. The vertical profile chart just shows us an overview of the planned climb and descent performance with the winds relative to the altitude at that point. Please note that the direction of the wind barbs is not a side-on vertical profile, but instead a top-down overlay of the wind's geographic direction. As I said before, there's some plus 15 knot wind barbs over close to our climb out, which are going to be hitting us from our 5 o'clock, and then it's going to be a bit slower and turn more to our 6 o'clock. On the descent, we expect very little wind below about flight level 150. The descent profile seemingly intersects the mountain near Innsbruck. It obviously won't be a factor because we'll be deviating from a straight in line from Tulsi to Innsbruck by transitioning over to the approach, which provides us with safe terrain separation minima. A quick word on the airport layouts. At Hamburg, we're parked at gate 37, and once pushed back, I expect a taxi over line 1 and Romeo to the runway 33 displaced threshold. The runway is concrete and is 3,666 meters long, with an emergency run length available of 3,726 meters. I do not expect us to need this even on a single engine takeoff due to our very light weight. We should be able to just lift off without any trouble. Standard takeoff limitations: up to 80 we stop for any problems, throttle idle and manual braking. Past 80 I will call 80 and will only be stopping for major problems I deem to endanger the safety of the aircraft, throttle to idle, and our RTO auto braking. Past V1, immediately auto throttle disconnect and apply full power. We'll rotate at V2, climb at V2 plus 10. Once positive rate established, immediately gear up, and up to 1,000 feet, no further actions. After that, thrust the climb, declare emergency, accelerate, clean up, and continue the climb to minimum sector altitude with a hold over the Hamburg VOR or ATC assigned radar vectors. Highest obstacle within about 20-mile radius of the Hamburg VOR is a 1,000 foot mass about 10 miles southwest, and other than that, the terrain is pretty much flat. Innsbruck's runway surface is bitumen, and it's about 2,000 meters long, so considerably shorter than Hamburg. But even so, given our light loading, standard auto brake 2 should give us plenty of braking action, especially given the dry conditions. The taxiways do not connect to the approach ends, so we will definitely want to stop before passing the Alpha exit. Otherwise, it's going to be a taxi to the end of the runway and backtrack, which just wastes time, fuel, and holds everybody else up. And then it's a taxi back over Alpha to the apron, parking in front of the terminal, or as we'll be given any free spot that's available. So that's it for the flight briefing, and we'll be heading over to the crew bus and heading over to the aircraft. Well, see you there, guys. Okay, so there we are on the pad. We are at gate 37. Departure is about 25 minutes away, so we first need to call ground here. And I'm going to be starting the loading process quickly. Going to have about 170 passengers. Let me check my weights here. We expect to have a zero fuel weight of 171.6, which means we need to load about 5,000 pounds. Okay, I'm gonna give it 10 minutes of APU, and then just go straight at taxi fuel. The trip fuel is gonna be 16,800. Okay, total fuel 16,888. That's correct. And let's start loading her. Meanwhile, I'm going to be stepping inside of the cockpit. As you can see, the jetway is not attached. We'll pretend they have some sort of a problem here at Hamburg, and we're going to be using the classic air stair and bus system. So we'll jump inside here. The airplane is currently in a powered on state. Wow, quite a reflection here on the yoke. Yeah, the sun's coming from behind. Check over here. Rotate the iris into nav. Fire up the yaw damper. Electronic engine controls are coming on. Hydraulic pumps. APU is currently off. We're running off the GPU there. Close the emergency lights. Restart the ram air turbine. Rev limiter is on. Engine starter can be number 1. Starter's going into auto for now. As you can see, fuel is currently increasing. 7,000 pounds on board. You got the nav lights, obviously, because the airplane's powered up and intended. Window heats. The flight attendant is apparently going apeshit here, but I'm gonna ignore him for now. Our landing altitude is 1950 feet. Automatic pressure control. Everything else here is looking good. Let's get some heat up in the cabin so the passengers don't complain because it's kind of cold outside. And there's the recirculation fan sound. And engine bleeds on, even though nothing's in there. We got about 40 psi from the ground start unit in the left hydraulic, left pneumatic system. We need to have a look on the weather here and set that up in our altimeters. The altimeter currently is 1018. Let's move like that. 1018. Set that up on the standby as well. And 1018 on the co-pilot side, and it should read 60 feet approximately. That's good. 60, 50, something like that. Hamburg is pretty close to sea level. So we got the cross-check on the altimeters there. We can cancel these messages. These are what we expect. Yep, that's looking good. Check my lever positions here just quickly. Whether, yep, they work. Okay, everything's looking good here. Throttles are idle. Brake pressure is looking good, 3000 psi. Left forward entry zeros are good. Hydraulic quantities, oil quantity in the APU is good. Oil quantity in the engines is good. Flight computer can go to auto. Thrust reference is all going to be set up a little bit later once we get to the MCDU. Parking brake is pulled. We can take the ADIs down to 0 on this side and on this side as well. Weather radar is off. Radios are going to be coming on. And listen on the left and right. VHF radio. ADS I don't worry about. Center radio. Fire tests, I'm not going to be doing those. Let's assume that they were already performed. I don't want to be wasting time with that. Although what we can do is we can go over here and do the light test. Check all the lights are lighting up here in the cabin. I mean the cockpit. Or flight deck as it's supposed to be called. Okay, everything's lighting up. And that's set. Co-pilot's going to be talking on the right radio. And Squawk is in standby. That's the initial check here done. Just check the switches. Everything over here is to the left. Everything over here is to the right. The auto land test buttons. Land 2 and land 3. That's good. Okay. So we need to program the departure. So let's go down here to FMC. We have a current ARAC database, which by the way expires today, so the last day I can use this ARAC cycle. We are currently at Echo Delta Delta Hotel. I need to put in the manual position For the IRS, the 757 does not have a GPS, so I need to manually enter that. We're north 53. I could use the airport reference position, but that's very inaccurate. North 5338.0. I said 0.0, and then we're east 10, exactly 10 degrees, so east 01000.0. That's initialized. Go to the route, Hotel Delta Delta Hotel to Lima Oscar Whiskey India, and we'll be departing on runway 33. Departure is for now, this is what we file, Amlog 3 Golf departure. After that, look over to my flight plan. We'll be ending up at EMLA, Uniform Mike 852. Oops, I put in Uniform November, Uniform Mike 852. Then it's gonna be Uniform Zulu 16. After that, Uniform Mike 736. Not November. 736. Down to Tulsi. And that's the route set up. Activate and execute that. I'm just gonna save this thing for whatever reason, because I always save my routes. I'm kind of worried about I'm gonna lose them. Okay, perfing it. Check fuel here. I think we're loaded, so loading is complete. So we can go over to our load sheet. Load sheet said we have 171.6 fuel weight, so 171.6 on the 0 fuel weight. Our final reserve is 4.7. Gonna have a cost index of 10. Cruise is gonna be 350. Cruise altitude. We have a wind component of plus 30, so I'm gonna enter 000/30, not 3 but 30. Cruise wind is about 30 knots to our advantage. Deviation is 0. Transition altitude is correct, that's 5,000 here in Hamburg. Gonna be a flaps 15 takeoff. Temperature select, we can derate quite heavily. We have a long runway and we're not very heavily loaded. We'll be a good 20 tons below max, well, about 15 tons below max takeoff weight. Gonna use the ref speeds here, 22, 29, and 35, and that's the pre-flight, CDU pre-flight is complete. Gonna call clearance now and get our departure clearance. Need to look at the frequency here for Hamburg right now. So tower is online. Actually, we have ground online, 21.7. I'm going to be using a SITAC panel here, so that's why you won't see me use the VC switches. Hamburg ground, guten Abend, Lufthansa 372, gate 37, IFR to Innsbruck. Oh, I haven't listened to the ATIS yet. I'm so quick.
Alpha 37 to Hamburg Airport, will stand by. I'll call you shortly.
Standing by, and we'll get the ATIS. We forgot about that.
Oh, Roger.
Okay, so 123.12 is the ATIS today.
0 degrees. Visibility 10 kilometers. Cloud, few, 4,100 feet. Broken, 8,600 feet. Temperature, 14 dew points, 5 QNH 1019er, trend, nosig, information, golf, out. Hamburg, information, golf, met report time, 1720, expect. ILS approach, runway 23, runways in use 23 for landing, 33 for takeoff. Transition level 60, wind 300 degrees, 7.
Okay, so we've been given Golf. And Lufthansa 372 is back with you. We have Golf.
Golf correct. Lufthansa 372. Your clear destination Innsbruck via AMLO 7 Golf departure flight plan route, squawk 2523, and departure frequency Bremen radar frequency 127.67.
Okay, it's going to be the AMLO 7 Golf departure, squawking 2523. Departure is on 127.67, Lufthansa 372.
Lufthansa 372, read back is correct. Startup approved, call for push.
Startup is approved, call for push, Lufthansa 372. Okay, so AMLO is 7 Golf, so that's confirmed. We have that. We need to look at the departure clearance, the departure procedure again for the initial climb so that I can set my MCP. I usually get that from the controller here. So my departure heading initially is going to be 331. So actually I do go the other way. 331. And the initial climb is up to 5,000. So check whether we have VNAV and LNAV arming. That's good. So both are arming, so we know that we've got a good setup here. I'm gonna talk to the PA guys here. Close the door.
Attention, all flight attendants. Doors automatic.
Okay. And we can call ground here and tell them to unhook. Take the stairs, PAX bus, fuel truck, and all the rest is going to stay on until we start up. Now, let's do the checklists here. Got about 10 minutes until departure. One more thing. Set in the squawk 2523. It's going to be 2523. That's set up. Departure frequency is 127.67. 675. That's good. And do the checklist now. So do the initial cockpit preparation one. Pre-flight, I'm sorry. That's the one. Oxygen, let's say what was tested. It's tested correct. 100%. Pressurization mode selector is auto. Flight instruments, we just checked those. Parking brake is set. Fuel control switches are cut off and gear pins have been removed. Okay, since we have everybody sitting down now, we have these things. We have got the cabin signs on. Let's do the departure briefing quickly. So we got the AMLO Alpha Mike Lima Uniform Hotel 7 Golf departure. Yep, that's correct. 7 Golf, which consists of an initial climb to 500 feet. Let me grab the details here on the textual page. At distance 3 nautical miles, which is Delta Hotel 250, which is also on the overlay. Delta Hotel 250. Gonna turn right to Delta Hotel 251. That's correct. Then Delta Hotel 252. That's good. Then direct to the Hamburg VOR. Actually, we can turn this thing over to automatic tuning. It should retune to the Hamburg VOR or not. Oh yeah, it already is 113.1. That's correct. From there, we'll fly radial 163 down to Amla. Okay, and the departure does not specify altitude restrictions besides this procedural waypoint here. So we're going to be an unrestricted climb, but we are currently the departure limit is 5,000, which we got set in the MCP. So that's all set. Other than that, let's check the route as well. Go to Lex page, step through that. So 250, 251, 252, Hamburg, Amla. That's the end of the departure procedure. Then down to Uniform Mike 852 down to Pavel. Then Uniform Zulu. Actually, let's bring the range up a little bit here.
Confirm no further problems.
Abgus, Koenig, Galma.
No further problems.
That's correct. Galma is the crossover to Uniform Mike 736 down to Tulsi.
Line 1, India North, holding point runway 33. Line 1, India North, holding point runway 33.
There's Tulsi. And from there, it's going to be a arrival into Innsbruck. So bring this thing back over into map mode. I see the before start checklist. One more thing. Well, actually, 16.8. Just check the fuel. My fuel here is okay. I'm gonna be calling. Let's measure the pushback distance approximately. It's gonna be, I guess, about a. That's when it's gonna. I'm gonna call it an 80-meter pushback. So which would be the default one. We're probably gonna get a pushback to the right here. Just clip my info here into my flight controls. I got a little bit of a card here for reference. And I'm going to be calling for pushback now. He'll give me a pushback clearance, and we'll know from that it's probably going to be a pushback to the right. I expect a taxi clearance. Actually, let's go to the taxi route as well. Just to know, we are at the 37, so we are probably going to be pushing back into line 1. And I'm going to be continuing taxi line 1 Romeo and then to the approach end of 33. That's probably going to be our taxi clearance, so we'll plan pushback to the right here. Call the pushback truck. We got the parking brake set, so they won't start pushing us back before we are ready. Let's do the before start. So actually, one more thing, we need to start up the APU. APU generator is coming on. Cross feed. I'm sorry, the isolation valve is off. Take off external power. Just check that the APU has come up.
372, when ready, report. Correction. Report when ready for pushback.
Hey firm, we'll call you in about 1 minute. We are almost ready. Lufthansa 372.
Okay, take your time.
Okay, APU is available, so we'll take external power off. Call the ground guys, tell them to grab all the equipment and drag it away from the airplane. Chocks are away. We are in the parking brake. Strobe light is coming on. And pressurized hydraulics. Let's pretend ground gave us the clearance to pressurize. And fuel pumps. And before start checklist. Fuel was checked, 16.8. That's what our release says. Passenger signs are set. Windows are closed and locked. MCP is 135 V2, 331 heading, 5,000 initially. Takeoff thrust is 1.60. Takeoff speeds V1 is 122. Let's go takeoff. 122. V rotated 129. 2 is 135, so takeoff speeds are set. Or checked. Radar CDU pre-flight is completed. Radar aileron trim are both 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing was completed. Flight deck doors closed. Red anti-collision light is on. Before taxi is gonna be done. Okay. And Lufthansa 372 is ready for pushback. We'll start. We'll do the engine start.
Pushback approved, facing south.
Pushback approved facing south, Lufthansa 372. So as I said, it's gonna be pushed to the right, approximately. So brakes are off, and pushback is commencing. Let's take the packs off, and number 2, number 1. So number 2 is going to ground. See if the pushback guys get it right this time. I need to hook up one more controller to my machine, I realized. Seems about right. Okay, 26%. Fuel's going in. Okay, not overspeeding the turbines here. Well, sort of. Sort of. Starter is cut out. The engines are stable. Okay, I'm stopping pushback here, so I'll gently depress the brakes, and parking brake is set. Pushback is dismissed. Number 1 is going to ground.
Die Lufthansa 36 Delta, good evening, straight on line 3, line 1, gate 6.
Line 3, line 1, gate 6, the Lufthansa 36 Delta.
Okay.
Lufthansa 36 Delta, now an aircraft is coming online, so in this case take
26, there we go. Holding my finger over the starter. Okay, EGT has peaked. I'm happy with that. Let's go put this guy over to the legs here. Starter has cut out. So let's do the after starts here. APU is coming off. Isolation valve as well. Packs are on. Everything else is here over here looking good. Auto brake is RTO. Takeoff trim is going to be 4 units. Weather radar going to weather radar going to turbulence. So we'll put weather display over here on both NDs. Where is your button? There's your button. Flaps are 15. And do the flight controls check. Rudder. And it's good. So flight director is coming on. LNAV and VNAV is armed. Auto throttle is armed. APU is just shut down. Before taxi checklist. Anti-ice. Well, we don't really need it, but let's put it on. Recall. That's good. Parking brake is good. Auto brake is set. Ground equipment is clear before taxi checklist complete. And Lufthansa 372 is ready for taxi. And we're just about on the bound.
Via line 1, India North, holding 1 runway 33.
Line 1 and Romeo for Lufthansa 372.
I should prefer Romeo, you can take Romeo. So line 1 and Romeo holding 1 runway 33.
Roger that. Romeo is going to be a little bit easier for us of a turn here. Thank you for Lufthansa 372. So line 1 and Romeo, Lufthansa 372. Okay, line 1 and Romeo. Okay.
No problem, sir.
sort of bullied him into my decision.
Lufthansa
We
37 are gate
will
5
play the
and
safety instructions for
the
the passengers here. Okay,
Vorgezeichnet werden is approved. Have a nice evening. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.
left and right is clear, so let's start a taxi. I want to have the full runway available for myself because I'm going to have a derated takeoff, so takeoff run's going to take a little bit longer. Not too much longer though, of course, mind you. Of course, we should have turned on the taxi lights, right? So I would have just gotten my head smacked for this.
Lufthansa 372, contact Tower 67850, have a nice time.
Over at the tower, Lufthansa 372. Thanks, bye. Tower is on 2685. So I'm gonna be retuning that. 2685.
German 6.
Hamburg Tower, good evening. Lufthansa 372 at Romeo, ready to go. Let's do the before takeoffs here as well.
Lufthansa 372, Hamburg Tower, hello. Wind 340 degrees, 3 knots, runway 33, clear for takeoff, bye.
Runway 33, clear for takeoff, Lufthansa 372. Okay, before takeoff checklist. Takeoff briefing completed. Packs are on, flaps are 15. Stab trim is set for units. Flight controls have been checked. Cabin is secure. Before takeoff checklist complete. Approach sector clear. Runway is clear. Where is it? Yeah, it is clear. Runway 33 is identified. And turn on the lights here, everything. So white anti-collision. Logo should have been on as well. Runway turn-offs. Let's turn everything on here. And transponder is gonna TARA.
Delta Bravo kreisen Sie links über Charlie einen Abflug vor Ihnen.
Oha, kreisen links über Charlie Delta.
Okay. EPR. Just start the timer here. Okay. Thrust is set, 80 knots. V1, rotate. Positive rate of climb. Gears coming up.
Hamburg Tower, Leipzig Airport, you attend on the ice.
Manual speed control here.
Hamburg Tower, hello, wind 340 degrees, 3 knots, so runway 23, clear to land.
Engaging the autopilot now.
Delta Alpha Bravo, fliegen Sie in den rechten Gegenanflugfest 2-3.
Let's switch over to departure. If I'm not mistaken, they have automatic hands-off here.
Hamburg Tower, Leipzig 343. Good. Left heading 360, China 6 Papa
Okay, flaps 5. Burn radar, good afternoon. Lufthansa 372, 2,400, climbing 5,000. Flaps 1. Flaps up.
Lufthansa 372, Blame radar, good evening, identified. Climb flight level 150.
Climb flight level 150, Lufthansa 372. So 150 is
Lufthansa
checked.
372, when passing 1000 turn right direct Abkurs.
Say again, after which altitude direct ATCOV for Lufthansa 372?
Lufthansa 372, turn right, direct upwards now.
Right direct AMLA for Lufthansa 372, thanks. Okay, take a direct here.
Lufthansa 372, negative, upwards. Alpha Bravo Golf Uniform Sierra.
Abgus Alpha Bravo Golf Uniform Sierra, Roger, thank you. Even better for Lufthansa 372.
Correct.
Okay.
Former Grumman Defense 5000, QNH 1019.
Maintaining the slightly sedate speed here. Okay, transition altitude is passed, so 1013.
Identified, expect straight in port runway 23, descend 4000 feet, QNH 1018.
1013 on the standby and 1013 on co-pilots, passing 8000. Take a second direct here and...
QNH 1018. 165.
Whoa, that was kind of a nasty.
Let's
take a heading select now. Okay, remove the speed control now. And we'll do a climb continuation here.
Lufthansa 372, contact Bremen 125.02, bye bye.
2502 for Lufthansa 372. Thank you, bye bye. 2502. Alright, 10,000 feet, so landing lights can come off. Runway turnoffs can as well. Brown radar, good evening, Lufthansa 372, passing flight level 1034150. And let's take the direct from the present position. And re-engage LNAV. And we should be okay now. Ah, crap.
From 24716 Runner.
Ryanair 992 November Foxtrot, contact Command Control 135 decimal 27, bye bye.
Coming 35 decimal 27, Ryanair 992, cheers.
Brown radar, good evening, Lufthansa 372, passing flight level 1284150.
Lufthansa 372 Bremen, hello, identified, climb flight 350.
Climb to 350, Lufthansa 372. Okay, sorry you couldn't see much there. That's pretty much all there is to the departure now. You should have done the after takeoff checklist as well. So just the altimeter stats checked off and after takeoff is complete.
Hansa Line 198, when ready, descend flight level 270, level at Reckon.
We're ready, distance flight level 270, by Reckon, Hansa Line 198.
Lufthansa 372, direct Tarbert.
Direct Tabat, Lufthansa 372. Okay, I like directs, they make my life a lot easier. Just gonna keep the heading select here on the nose, just to make sure that we have, in case the LNAV goes slightly wonky, we can re-engage heading select. Weather radar can now go to weather, and we can take anti-ice off. And turn up the internal lighting here a little bit on the instruments. And lights are looking good.
Scandinavian 5071 over to Uniform 122, destination. Bye bye. Corner 609,
To the back of us, you can see the River Elbe over there.
609, that's the proof. That's first. Proceed direct to Lehman. Romeo India Mike 8 Tango.
How are we doing on pressurization here? Cabin altitude is 4,000, climbing at 500 feet a minute. Differential pressure is also looking safe.
609, we're Portland back. Thank you.
Okay, slip down in
Good evening. This is Delta
the
India,
FMC here.
Delta India, Delta Romeo Tango,
Gonna
sorry.
be cruising at 0.77.
It's a long time ago. We are climbing out of Paderborn, directing Warburg, passing flight level 950.
Progress page is
So Delta India,
saying
Delta Romeo Tango.
that I have about 5.6 at destination.
2464.
Check that with my flight release.
2464, Delta
I
Romeo
think
Tango.
that's kind of low. Yeah, our flight release estimates
Jersey 1235.
estimates 8.0 at the destination.
Last station was calling second.
Yes, USA 1235 checking in.
Yeah, last station, I need the call sign once again.
USA 1235.
Jersey 1235, you're out of my airspace. I'm sorry, over to Unicorn 122, it's me 8, bye-bye.
Can you please repeat?
Jersey 1235, you are out of my airspace. Monitor Unicorn 122, that's me 8, bye-bye.
Can you please write that in the chat? I don't understand.
Yeah, it sometimes happens that you, even if you're a native speaker of English, sometimes the audio really crackles up
Delta
really
India,
bad.
Delta Romeo Tango identified, climb flight level 190,
So
expect
sometimes
direct
it's
in about
really
1
hard
minute.
to understand a controller, even though you should be able to understand a man.
Climbing
in-
up to flight level 190.
When you listen to real life recordings, you have no problem understanding. Sometimes it just happens that you have like really broken audio. And it's kind of a problem with digital audio systems, and especially with these like packet-oriented voice-over IP stuff that VATSIM is using. Packet loss is really kind of a weird thing that you have on your audio. It's quite different to your typical
Delta
analog
Delta Romeo
crackle.
Tango via Wasser, direct Glasdorf, part of Ruder for Zulu, Culture 5 Victor arrival.
Got a little bit of turbulence here.
Directing Glasdorf and Rudak 1 Victor arrival for Delta India, Delta
Just a
Romeo
slight
Tango.
turbulence
Thank you, directing
transient.
to Glasdorf.
Engines are looking good, climbing at standard power settings. Again, a little bit of a turbulence transient. For now, I'm just going to be monitoring that. It doesn't seem to be a big problem. Kind of a weather refresh going on here. I am running in real time, so we'll be arriving in Innsbruck after sundown. The current Zulu time is 1931. And yeah, I'm not worried about the chrono. I never could figure this out, how to switch that over to real time.
Last station again?
Let's experiment here with the co-pilots.
Thank you.
11.
Bremen radar, Hamster line 198, request descent, flight level 180.
How are we doing on fuel?
On the line 198.
12.6.
Over to Unicorn 122.
Yeah, this is currently
bye-bye.
climbing. I expect it to be about 8,000 by the time we get to Innsbruck. That's approximately what our flight release says. Initially, it tends to be a little bit pessimistic here, since we did a departure to the north, but tab at 8.5, it's, how far is it away? It's only, well, about 19 minutes away, 18 minutes, but certainly don't expect it will burn away 4,500 pounds in these 19 minutes. It's really just a little bit pessimistic because of the climb that we're doing right now. Once we get into cruise, it's going to be much happier. Hydraulics are all looking good. And brakes are, of course, stone cold. I incidentally have been playing around
7, identified, hello, Bremen radar.
with the brake temperature here.
Once again. American 7, hello,
you can
identified,
really
climb flight level.
you can really feel the brake fade that happens when you have overheated brakes, and X-Plane of course does simulate that quite faithfully. So I did a number of practice landings, and each time I reset the airplane
Bremen, hello, identified.
back to short finals, so about 3 miles away. And after about a good five or six brakes, 5 or 6 landings with auto brakes set to 2, you can see these numbers get into the 4s and 5s, and your brakes are literally going to be smoking.
41 Mike, Bremen.
And if you happen to land occasionally with your parking brake set, which I did once, they'll catch on fire pretty much right away. And you'll have little fire animations on your landing gear, so that's going to be fun. Okay, how are we doing over here? Yeah, northern Germany is really kind of uninteresting. The interesting stuff's going to be happening down in southern Germany once we get over to the Alps. Northern Germany is pretty flat and mostly agricultural, so you get a lot of these vast field expanses here. And apparently over there the world is ending, because we have no scenery loaded past that point. Of course, by that I don't mean that northern Germany is kind of boring. I don't mean it's pretty. Of course, I don't want to insult people. It has its own kind of beauty. Let's grab a few scenic shots here.
Hotel 41 Mike, contact Bremen 127, decimal 67, bye-bye.
Condensation trails already. Total air temperature is -23. Fuel is at -15. You got to make sure we keep the fuel up at -37 or above. Okay, next control, next sector is probably going to be Munich. It's just 132.5. So 132.55. So just pre-tune that and get that ready.
Lufthansa 372, contact Bremen radar 123, decimal 225, tschüssi.
23225 for Lufthansa 372, tschüssi.
Bremen radar
225.
115 miles inbound.
Bremen radar, guten Abend, Lufthansa 372, passing flight level 34744350. And just about level off.
Lufthansa 372, Bremen radar, wunderschönen guten Abend, identified. Proceed direct Tulsi, Tango Uniform Lima, Sierra India.
Direct to Tulsi, Lufthansa 372. Okay. Another shortcut, I like those. And something's going on here. Still in cruise. I have no idea why VNAV suddenly switched over to slow us down. Let's see what it does now. It's getting confused. No idea what's going on here. It's probably because it's lost. Alright, it's probably because of this. And Tulsi is past its top of descent. So it's getting mildly confused here and trying to slow us down at 269 knots at flight level 12112, which would be pretty much a lot slower than our current flight speed. So kind of a bug here I found in the FMS apparently. Never mind that, we'll manage with manual speed control. Something happened in my X-plane install for some reason. You can see there's the position light. We should obviously have a wing here. And back a couple of X-plane revisions before, I used to have this. I used to be able to see the full wing plus the winglets. Well, this plane doesn't have a winglet, but used to be able to see the external model from here. And you know, when you had turbulence, the wing would shake around and everything. So you'd be able to see pretty much the behavior of the airplane there. And unfortunately, something changed, I suppose, in some X-plane revision just recently, where they optimized the external model out when you're inside of the flight deck. And that kind of sucks, because now I'm not able to see my wings, even though I am able to see the position lights, which is weird. So that's the green one, that's the right wing. And there's the sun. It's getting a little bit dark here in the cockpit, so let's turn up the light here. And we can turn up the dome light as well. Chart reading. And this light for some reason works in the completely opposite direction as you would expect. Not like that. Let's see what other lights we can play with. Yeah, the floodlights are kind of non-functional. I mean, they're functional, but the thing is that it's the model simulating what glare would look like, and there's still too much light outside for these dome lights to actually make a difference. I'm sorry, the floodlights, so I'll just turn them off for now.
Radar, good evening. The
Okay.
Romeo Tango climbing to flight 190. Passing.
How's the progress page looking out? Now that's much more
sensible.
sensible. 7.8. And we got
Delta Romeo Tango.
still things we're in climb here.
Wunderschönen guten Abend. Expect ILS approach mit 265 entgegen.
So excited to Delta Romeo Tango. Thank you very much.
And where's top of descent here? Yeah, top of descent is about 160 miles away. Not gonna bother with the step climb. I could do it, but I really don't care all that much. Whiskey Uniform Romeo, that should be the Baden-Württemberg VOR. And just to do a quick check here on the arrival, I need to bring up my charts for Innsbruck. I have flown to Innsbruck several times, so I mostly know what to expect, but it's always quite fun to see what we get. From Tulsi, we're probably gonna get a Tulsi 3 Alpha arrival, which will take us down to Rattenberg. And yeah, about like that. And from Rattenberg, it's gonna be the approach. Provisionally for now, I'm gonna be selecting the arrival here. It's gonna be Tulsi 3 Alpha arrival. And we'll see about the approach we get. In fact, let's grab the ATIS here on the second nav radio. So second nav radio is going to 126.02. And we'll listen to the ATIS.
4, QNH,
radar, good evening,
1,
American
0, 2,
722,
1, no 6, advise on initial contact, you have information. Charlie, this is Innsbruck. Information, Charlie, at time 1720, runway, the news.
American 7, good evening, Berlin radar is
not determined.
identified. Proceed direct, not rules, your Oscar Delta from your Oscar.
5 knots. Visibility, more than 10 kilometers. Clouds, few. 6,000 feet. Scattered 8,000 feet. Temperature, 13. Viewpoint 4. QNH, 1021. No 6. Advise on initial contact. You have information. Charlie, this is Innsbruck. Information, Charlie, at time 17.
So there's currently no specified runway. We'll get that on approach. Arrival is probably going to be the Tulsi 3 Alpha arrival, as I said. QNH is 1012, 13 degrees, and few clouds at 6,000. We can see it here in text, scattered 8. Yep, it's probably going to be with anti-ice arrival, or anti-ice approach. Currently we do not need anti-ice. Total air temp is -24. Fuel is about the same, so that's good. Okay, now it's getting kinda dark here. So let's see if we can turn up dome lights. That's gonna make a bit of a difference. Yeah, not much, but at least something. So we're getting really late and dark here. Okay, let's see what the progress page says now. So Tulsi 3 Alpha for now. Check the legs here. Yeah, Tulsi, Rattenberg. And its things should be, yep, that's correct. 9,500 is the Rattenberg arrival. Expect about 7.5 on the landing fuel, that's good. And we're probably gonna get, well, from this vector, if we get Tulsi, unless we get radar vectors after Tulsi, if we get the Tulsi 3 Alpha arrival, it's pretty much gonna be the runway 08 landing. They didn't specify any winds here, so probably there's little wind or few, or well, let's check online here, a little bit of a cheat. I'm gonna grab the wind from, yeah, it's variable 1 knot, so that's pretty much no wind at all. There's not going to be a preferred vector for landing. So probably going to get a runway 08 approach and landing. And since we do not have RNAV here capable of less than 0.3, I'm going to boost the brightness of this video in post-production, guys, because it's getting kind of dark here in the cockpit.
Raven Radar, good evening, KLM 1826, passing title 120 or 150.
Yeah, let's get rid of the floodlight there. Doesn't really do much for us.
KLM 1826, Raven Radar, good evening, identified.
Yeah, it's the same now.
Okay, maintain flight level 150. Initially and proceed direct north, please. Direct north.
Okay, so since we do not have a RNAV better than 0.3 approach capable IRS here, our IRSs are, we can actually
direct Norco and
grab
maintain
position indication here. Sorry, over here. And we have an RMP. Where are you? 316.34. Yeah, we certainly going to have 0.3 precision on the RNAV here, so we can't use an RNAV approach. It's going to be a localizer DME.
American 7, proceed direct Roding, Romeo, Delta Golf.
So it's going to be an
Check the Romeo Delta Golf, American 7.
it's going to be a VOR localizer approach, most likely, for runway 08. I need to check the exact procedure number, the procedure code. For whatever reason, Navigraph Charts is giving me a hard time right now. The charts cloud thing. About 120 miles away from top of descent.
1826, climb flight level 360.
Climb flight level 60, killing 1826.
Lufthansa 372, contact München radar on 132.552.
München radar on 132.55. Good Nacht. Lufthansa 372. 132.55 goes in the box.
051, danke fürs Service, tschüss. Tschüss.
München radar, guten Abend, Lufthansa 372 at flight level 350.
Last station for München radar, please say again.
Guten Abend, Lufthansa 372 with you at flight level 350.
Lufthansa 372, München radar, good evening, identified, confirmed direct quality.
Affirm, direct Tulsi, Lufthansa 372.
Guten Tag, Berlin 552 with you, flight level 240.
Berlin 552, München radar, good evening, identified, descent, flight level 150.
Down to 150 for Berlin 552.
Wish Air 601, no, for ATZ, monitor Uniform 122.8, have a good flight, bye bye sir.
Actually, correction here. It's going to be not runway 08, but probably runway 26. Select the VOR 26, transition through Rattenberg for now. So we get a precise fuel calculation, 7.2, that's way above our fuel reserve, so I'm happy with that. ILS, it's only a localizer, it's 111.1.
Lufthansa Cargo 850, on the when you are back.
Roger, we'll call you back when the cockpit.
Okay, last light of the day. Why was my beacon on the whole time? Apparently my SciTech panel kind of went crazy there, even though I pushed the button here. So there we go, now we're fully lit. Great, eh? That's how we're looking on the engines. 3.4 is a good fuel consumption here. Let's turn up the floodlights at the top. Yeah. Doesn't really do much for us, does it?
850, thank you.
So let's keep that off. Okay, let's brief the approach, because that's going to be a complicated one. Approach starts at Rattenberg, 9,500. Then we'll fly heading 210 out of Rattenberg.
Berlin 552, contact München
At
radar
9,500,
115,
intercept the
9,500.
Oscar Echo Victor localizer, which is frequency 111.1.
123.1 for Berlin 552.
We look over here, 111.1. Front course is 255, that's correct. At distance 21 we expect the intercept to happen from the DME. Then heading 255. At distance 19 is the final approach fix. We'll start a descent down to the runway. Now, from there on, we'll use the distance chart on the final on the approach chart as to cross-check to make sure we're crossing the correct points here. We expect to have at distance 16 DME we'll have 8,340 feet, 13 DME 7130 feet, 10 DME 5920 feet, 8 DME 5110 feet, 7 DME 4710 feet. Then it's an offset localizer, so we'll have to brake from the localizer before we do the landing, the actual landing. Minimum approach altitude minimums are going to be dependent on our one engine out climb. And well, really we cannot set it up here in the ADI because this one goes only up to 999 feet.
German cargo 850, contact Lange,
And this is only for decision height, so radar rather than barometric, so we'll have to call the minimums manually by looking our altimeter here, the barometric.
Thank you, bye-bye.
We should be able to do a climb here of about 3 degrees with one engine out. So our minimum is going to be 4,400 feet barometric. So mark that down. Somebody call it out when we're there. Of course, I'm going to be calling it out myself because you're not here. So just noting that here. Circling approaches are not allowed here, that's obvious. Missed approach, that's going to be a complicated one. At maximum climb gradient, at distance 1 from Oscar Echo Victor, we want to intercept QDM 060 out of APS to APSAM, to the APSAM NDB, which I'm going to be tuning down here in the ADF. So it's 313. And I need the dome light now because I cannot see a damn thing on the center pedestal. And the second ADF is gonna go over to Rattenberg for cross-referencing. Okay, turn that back down. We'll switch this guy over to ADF. Once the second needle moves, we'll know we have the NDB there. Whatever. These NDBs are kind of low power, so we'll have to use, get pretty close, within about 15 miles to see them, to be able to receive them. It's a fairly short runway. Okay, so Mr. Press Procedure, one more thing. 060 to APSAM. From APSAM, we'll turn, again, re-intercept the outbound course from the localizer. And at distance 14, Oscar Echo Victor will brake and go direct to the Rattenberg NDB and hold there. It's going to be a right hold on radial 226, and we'll check that. Actually, we can check that. We have it here in our landing, so that's the landing. Low E26 is the runway. Yeah, it's just vectors here, so that's gonna be a bit of a problem there. But we'll solve that. We can fly that manually. So it obviously didn't program in the hold as well. Yeah, I didn't yet, but that's not a problem. Okay, 40 miles away from top of descent. Seat belts are gonna stay auto, so that means they're off at this time. What's the progress saying? 7.2 at the destination. That's good, so it's not changing anymore. And that's it for the approach brief. One more thing. When approaching into Innsbruck, usually you want to be fully configured for landing before you start the descent.
Phuket 503 with radar, good evening.
It's a really difficult approach, so you want to be prepared for anything that's going to hit you. Tower is going to be 120.1, so just noting that here on my piece of paper. 120.1. Approach is on 119.72. And the ATIS, we got that in standby, still ready to go on the second nav radio here, so that's the ATIS in case we need to recall it. Other than that, one more thing, yeah, as I was saying, the approach into Innsbruck, you want to be fully configured before landing, before starting the descent actually, not before landing, well obviously you want to be before landing, but before starting the descent from the holding altitude of 9,500 feet, you want to be at full flaps, gear down, pretty much, well probably going to be flaps 20, but you want to be pretty much configured for landing, because it's a very hairy and tricky approach, and it's really difficult to try and configure yourself as you are cross-checking the DME distances. Okay, so how far are we? We're about 20-30 miles from top of descent. Turn off the data.
Beach radar, good evening. American 7, Turkey level 330, direct Romeo Delta. American 7, with radar, good evening, identified. Proceed direct V6, Victor Echo Sierra India X-ray. Start the V6, American 7.
Let's look at the runway here. Runway it's an asphalt runway, not grooved surface, but it's dry. The conditions are currently, there's no rain or nothing happening on at Innsbruck, so the runway should be dry. 2,000 meters long, 45 meters wide, and it's a fairly short runway, but we are not very heavy. Final approach speed, it's probably going to be 130, so VRF, we have one knot of variable wind, so that's really not a big issue, and so we're going to be landing at VRF +5, so 130. Auto brake number 2 should be okay. Full reverse as usual, and we'll try to exit on Alpha, because obviously that's the only exiting runway. I'm sorry, that's the only exit capable taxiway. Innsbruck does not have taxiways that extend all the way up to the approach ends of the runway. We'll need to, if we overshoot Alpha, we'll need to go all the way out to the end of the runway, and then you do a backtrack on the runway back to the Alpha taxiway and to the apron. So if we could hit Alpha, which we should be able to do, it's about 1.5 kilometers down the runway from the 26 threshold. We should be able to do that. In fact, I did that kind of a landing with a 777. I was able to hit the Bravo exit in the reverse direction. I was landing on the 08, that was much harder. But then again, I wasn't doing it at night. Okay, we're looking over here on the overhead. Turn up the lights here a bit. Everything else is good, 9.1 on the fuel. When I click this button, it sets up my speed bugs here. So this so let's click around so you guys can see, watch the speed bugs move around here. This FMC is a pretty old model, simulated from Boeing. It's pretty much the first one that the airplane came with. As you can see, the primary flight display doesn't even have the speed tape feature, and so you need to manually pretty much set it all up. So we're pretty much at top of descent here. So we'll call for descent. And Lufthansa 372 is requesting descent.
Lufthansa 372, descent, flight level 130, level at Tulsi.
130 to be level at Tulsi, Lufthansa 372. Okay, 130 is set in. Descent is set up, and there she goes. Just past top of descent. And we can take that thing away there. And have the auto flight system control speed from now. Or VNAV actually. And let's go over here to our planning. And we're going to be flight level / flight level 130 at Tulsi. If it won't let me put that in, then it won't let me put that in, of course. Ooh. There's the Munich airport, I think.
Munich
We'll be
radar,
overflying
Munich
that. I was wondering what that thing there was.
München radar, good enough Lufthansa 2306.
Never mind that, we'll use vertical speed and
inbound.
manually control the thing.
Uppala for flight level 1-0.
Lufthansa 2306, with radar, good evening, identified, climb flight level 380.
Flight level 380 for Lufthansa 2306.
Alpha 7 Alpha Kilo Alpha with radar, good evening, identified. Climb flight level 230. American 7, descent, flight level 110, level at V6.
Okay, and the descent we want to be happening at 269 knots, so there it is. So now switch over and keep that speed now. Just past the IAS and Mach equivalence. So down by 2700. You're gonna be hitting 130 just before Tulsi. And it's still gonna be above flight level 10, so 100, so we don't need to worry about the speed restrictions here, but given the really sharp turns we're going to be doing over here in the approach,
Again, 830, connect.
I'm going to be slowing down as well a little bit. Just after Tulsi should be okay.
Over to VN
If necessary, I'm going to give it a
134
little bit of speed brake.
350 for GN 830. Dankeschön and guten Abend.
Keep this thing over on legs.
Bye bye.
Second CDU. And as you can see, you cannot see any... Well, that's the maintenance panel, that's the thing you can see, but that's pretty much pitch black outside now. So the floodlights kind of sort of start to work. But of course we get horrible reflections on the panel here. And on the windows. Gonna turn down that down a little bit. We've just overflown the Munich airport, just down there. It's a pretty neat and big airport. I think I went to it once. A really short flight from Vienna. We were flying, I think, like flight level 340 and only spent about 10 minutes at cruise altitude. So that was kind of silly. There's some traffic down there as well on the roads. Yep, there's Munich with its huge terminals. And if you guys know Pilot's Eye TV, or if you don't know Pilot's Eye TV, you should head over to pilotseye.tv. It's a company that makes flight videos from cockpits and makes them into sort of like into sort of documentary films, and you can buy DVDs from them, and they do have a DVD one movie that's about 2 hours. It's an A320 flight from Munich to Gran Canaria, or some other island there. I forgot exactly which one. La Palma, sorry. La Palma is the one. GCLP, I think, if I remember.
Lunch and good evening, Shamrock 330 with you.
Okay.
5,000 feet.
I'm gonna be slowing down. Once I level off ahead of Tulsi, I'll slow down to 250.
Evening identified. Climb flight level 310. Proceed direct Lampi. Lima Alpha Mike Sierra India.
And so the video there was an Airbus A320 doing a daily turnaround, basically. So they went there and then spent about 2 hours there and then turned around right back. And it's a really nice movie. I mean, I recommend that. Pilot's Eye makes really top-notch
American
stuff.
7, contact radar 13.9. Bye-bye.
Obviously, of course, it was an Airbus, so it's not really my cup of tea. I'm more of a Boeing driver, but still, very nice video. Keep that down there, close to Tulsi. Playing around now with the vertical speed dial here, and trying to hold the green banana just ahead of Tulsi. And it's really nice modeling that Flight Factor did here.
372, contact Innsbruck approach 119.27. Bye bye.
119.27, Lufthansa 372. Have a good night. 119.27. Innsbruck approach, guten Abend, Lufthansa 372, descending to flight level 130 out of 175, inbound Tulsi.
Lufthansa 372, Innsbruck radar, servus, descend 10,000 feet, altitude QNH 1022, and information Golf, expect localizer DME east approach.
Down to 10,000, QNH 1022, current information Gulf, will get that, and expecting localizer DME east approach for Lufthansa 372. Okay, down to 10. East approach means pretty much what we said here, so that's correct. And we'll see about whether we get a runway 26 or 08 landing.
Lufthansa 372, direct Rattenberg NDB.
Direct Rattenberg NDB, Lufthansa 372. Okay, direct intercept, Rattenberg in there. LNAV is going to turn us around. And it says animal cruise altitude, I don't worry about that.
3006, contact tower 120.125, have a nice landing, bye bye.
Whoop, I kind of pulled on the wrong button there. Accidentally I pulled the flap lever instead of the speed brake, because we need to arrest our speed up here.
Entschuldigung, it's tower 120.12, have a nice landing, bye.
I actually accidentally pull the flap lever.
Lufthansa 372, maintain high speed.
Maintaining high speed, Lufthansa 372. Okay, so if they want us to go fast, we'll go fast. Well, we definitely do want to slow down the descent a little bit there. They want to make it funny for us, huh? Okay, so 1022 is the QNH setting here. 1022. And I don't need to do a manual cross-check because the FMC here will tell you, so if you push it too far away you'll get the sort of alt disagree message. So it'll tell you if the altimeters are broken. 12200.
224, descent 10,000 feet, altitude QNH 1022, cleared localizer DME east approach.
Descend 10,000 feet 1022 and clear local miser DME east approach. Nikki 224.
As you can see, we can also use the FMC here for cross-checking the localizer positions. That we do have waypoints for that. This approach is going to be fun, for sure. So we already are picking up the Rattenberg NDB here. .3003. Gonna switch the number 1 needle over into ADF as well. Bring the range here down. Okay, approaching 10. So landing lights are coming on. All those lights don't need to go now, but the wing lights do need to turn on now. I wanted to display traffic here on the ND, which I should have done at the start of the flight, but I don't really care. Altitude hold. I will need to slow this thing down now to 250.
Nikki 224, report indicated speed.
We are currently at 270, Nikki 224.
Okay, let's hold this heading here.
Nikki 224, speed 250 knots or less.
Speed 250 knots or less, Nikki 224.
So let's tune that thing over. And front course is 255.
Lufthansa 370, free speed.
Speed is 250 knots, Lufthansa 372.
Lufthansa 372, roger, speed is yours. November 557, Delta Echo, you have free speed.
557, Delta Echo, free speed.
Lufthansa 372, for the localizer, you should turn right now.
Roger that, Lufthansa 372. You didn't clear us for the approach yet.
Oh! Lufthansa 372, you cleared localizer now. Sorry.
Roger that, cleared localizer east approach, Lufthansa 372, thanks. Okay, so we just busted through the localizer, but no problem here. So
Okay,
speed is ours.
But you okay for the localizer DME approach, isn't it?
Correct.
So we'll
Yeah, that's what I mixed up.
we need to slow down now. We want to turn a little bit further right. Range is going down to 10. Turbulence back on the weather radar. I forgot to do the descent checklist, but we'll get that done right away. Descent checklist: pressurization landing was checked, recall checked, auto brake is set, landing data is set, approach briefing is completed, and approach altimeters are set and nav aids are set. So that's set. Localizer is alive. Let's turn a little bit further to the right here. Oh, localizer intercepted. So let's scroll this over to 255. Switch this thing over to ILS. 19 miles and get ready for the descent. We need to throw out the flaps now. Really need to get on the brakes here, so give it a little bit more speed brake. And start the descent. Vertical speed by about -500. Drop the gear. And drop my pen. Oh, disregard that message. Reducing speed. 16020. Flaps. Okay, speed brake is going in.
Lufthansa 372, contact tower at 120, 12, have a nice landing, bye bye.
12012 for Lufthansa 372. Thank you, bye bye. Okay, 12012. I hope that's the right frequency. 1201, of course. Innsbruck Tower, good evening. Lufthansa 372 on the approach from the east on localizer.
Lufthansa 372, hello, good day. Are you prepared for circling 08?
Say again, please, for Lufthansa 372. Ready for what?
Ready for the circling. Are you prepared for circling runway 08? Runway 08?
If runway 26 would be available, that'd be better for us, but we are able for the circling approach for Lufthansa 372.
Okay, Lufthansa 372, cleared runway, cleared the east approach runway 26, continue approach wind is variable with 2 knots, QNH 1022.
Roger that, continue approach, we're going to be on runway 26, Lufthansa 372, thanks. I really don't have the mood right now for...
3006, taxi stand of your choice. Thanks, have a good day.
Okay. A little bit of wind here, a little bit of turbulence. I have the runway in sight. Need to cross-check my DMEs here. Distance 10, we went at 5,900 and we are definitely too high. Distance 10, 5,900 and we are at almost 8,000 here. So we'll pull a little bit of speed brake, disregard that. Yeah, we're kind of high. 9 miles, gonna be about 5,500. We need to get on the brakes here. Eight miles is 5,100.
Innsbruck Tower, Nikki 1826 with information Charlie, request platform.
Runway is in sight, we have visual references to the ground ground contact. So I feel comfortable at this steep descent.
Hello, day. I'm coming back shortly.
7 miles is going to be 47.
372, wind is variable. 2 knots, runway 26, clear to land.
Runway 26, clear to land, Lufthansa 372. Okay, leveling off here slowly. Still a little bit high. 1,000 feet to go. Reducing the final approach speed, so 130.
Nikki,
Flaps full.
1826, you're clear to Gatwick, out of runway 26, via to the 1 Juliet departure. Initially climb flight level 160, squawk 4661.
Runway is in sight. Autopilot's coming off. And flight director is coming off. Gonna keep manual speed control. No, automatic speed control. Okay, speed brake is in. Speed brake is armed.
Alright, cleared to Gatwick as filed. Climb via the Alpha Delta India.
See the Pappy, we are a little low here.
1 hotel departure, initially up to flight level 160 and squawk 4661, Nikki 1826.
Okay,
Nikki 1826.
manual speed control. I see 4 reds, so we gotta have to level it off here.
Tower, good afternoon. Nikki 224, localizer Jimmy East. Nikki 224, hello, good afternoon. Continue approach runway 26. Traffic is now 5 miles ahead, confirming time.
Okay, we have 2 reds, 2 whites here.
Nikki 224, then slow down to minimum if possible. Expect late landing clearance 26. Minimum airspeed and expect late landing clearance, Nikki 224.
Three whites, so correcting. Actually, it should be 130. So they're, because of us, they're giving them a late landing clearance, so I'm definitely going to try to vacate on Alpha. Fully focused now. A little bit high on the approach. Still.
500.
Checked. Just make sure the speed brake is armed again. I'm only using a button here for that. Still a little bit high. Okay, on the center line.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Manual braking. 60 knots, reverse is coming in.
Nikki 224, wind is variable, 2 knots runway 26, left line.
And here's our exit.
With land runway 24. To land runway 26, Nikki 224.
Okay. Turning on the taxi
Lufthansa
light.
372, vacate via Alpha, taxi system of your choice. Thanks.
Vacating on Alpha, stand of our choice, Lufthansa 372. Okay, that's the landing complete. Flaps are coming up, speed brakes in. Auto brakes are down. I'm sorry, auto brake is off, auto throttle disarmed. Really messed up landing here. I even forgot the landing checklist, so that's really great. Okay, lights are off. Turn offs are... Is that light turning on? Well, hopefully it is. Let's see what the checklist said. At least we'll give it a few ticks. Yeah, sure. Speed brake is armed. Everything's great. So messed up the checklist there. There's the Nikki guy behind us. I got really messed up by the very late, with a very high speed and the controller forgetting to give us a turn. So that really messed up my flow there, but ultimately it was, again, my fault. Completely.
Yankee 224, turn around at the end of the runway and vacate via Alpha. Thereafter taxi to a stand of your choice. Have a good evening. Thanks. Alright, backtrack on the runway and Alpha to the gate to Yankee 224. Thank you.
I can turn off the right turn-off lights here, so we don't blind the guys there too much. Maybe we'll even clip this guy's tail.
Innsbruck Tower, good afternoon. November 557 Delta Echo with you inbound localizer DME East. Sorry, it was straight in approach localizer DME East.
Okay, there we go. This is going to be our parking spot right after this Austrian Airlines here. So left turn-off light as well coming off.
November 557 Delta Echo with
There's no lights here.
not continue localizer East for runway 26.
Roger, we'll continue for runway 26, 557 Delta Echo.
Okay, turn off light off, taxi light off. Actually, this show up here as well. I already did that on my panel. Parking brake is set. APU needs to come out. Should have done that right after.
Innsbruck Tower, American 1991, please repeat the frequency of the
APU generator
Munich,
is
center.
on. What do you mean APU gen off?
American 1999.
Okay, APU is available, so shut down.
Actually, Munich radar is offline. So you want to do the flight would be for you.
Okay, so now we'd be calling the ground crew and obviously hooking the plane up to its own power, deboarding the passengers and everything here. So seat belts off, so we're good with that. And as you can see, brake temperature did increase a little bit.
Number 557 Delta Echo wind is variable.
Sorry for the goose there on the approach. I'm really not used to landing at Innsbruck at this high
Number
speed.
557
So that really caught me off guard there. But I hope it was fun watching the video anyway, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.